Welcome, everybody, and good morning from the center recording to the Miami Heat 2023-2024 season review. We're going to give opinions. We're going to talk through all the games that happened this season, and it's not going to be those like break down the particular games again. No, it's going to be like a little quick gist of what happened, and then we move forward from there. Now, before I go any further, I do apologize for a couple of things. I apologize for not getting the season review done earlier. So I do apologize for that. My case is, I wanted to see who wins this championship and what the Heat, and this will be part of another policy, what we had to do to move forward. And the biggest reason is I was so concentrated on the Florida Panthers playoff run, so I didn't have much time to think about the Miami Heat. I was mainly focusing on our hockey team, so I do apologize for that. And I also apologize because on that time, I didn't know what we were doing. I didn't know what we were looking for, but now I do. So I do apologize for not thinking about this sooner. All right, season review. Here we go. Our first game of the season starts off with the Detroit Pistons at home. They did a little banner at the with the Eastern Conference Championship, which is last season where we blew a 3-0 lead over the Boston Celtics, but still winning it in 7. Kind of like what the hockey team did. But anyway, our first opponent was against the Detroit Pistons. We won that game 103-102. We had that 19-point lead heading into the fourth quarter, and we nearly blew it. We nearly destroyed that lead. And then we still were able to hang on to move to start off 1-0. And then the next 4 games, we lost 4 straight. We lost to the Boston Celtics. Kristaps Porzingis, Jaylen Brown, who's automatic, and Derek White, who's just an annoying pest, was poor to shots, especially in the third quarter and the fourth quarter. And one thing that's frustrating with the Miami Heat, the fourth quarter is always so stressful. It didn't need to be, but if they know next season and moving forward to know how to close the game, I think it would have been a lot better. But Celtics came back. There was that stupid call with the over the back call against the Miami Heat, or it should have been an over the back call, but they called a foul on Butler, which is incredibly stupid, and that kind of influenced the Celtics to win that game. Then the day after, we go to Minnesota to play against Naz Reid, Anthony Edwards, and Karl Anthony Towns, and they dominated us. I mean, I have nothing else to say about that. And then they were taunting Jimmy Butler. It's like, where is Jimmy, or something like that. He was smiling on the bench in that game. It was pretty funny. Nothing against the Timberwolves. The Timberwolves, great team this season. They deserve to go to the Western Conference. It's a shame that they didn't win the Western Conference because they have a bright future. Minnesota has a bright future. I got nothing. I got no hate against the Timberwolves. Milwaukee, however, just annihilating us. Now, remember what I said. Fourth quarter, our weakest quarter. Well, this time, they nearly pull out one of the most improbable comebacks, with Tyler Hero shooting some buckets, Bam Adebayo shooting, and Bam Adebayo just absolutely improving his shots. It was amazing. But they just fall just short, and they only lost by 8 points. So, not terrible. But the Brooklyn Nets game, absolutely frustrating to lose at home. And then we lost that game 109-105. Just were not able to find anything. Now, NBA in-season tournament group play. We were playing against the Wizards. It was a back-and-forth game. However, the Heat won that game 121-114 to start this tournament or group play with a W. And then that started a 7-game win streak for the Miami Heat. 7-game win streak. We beat the Wizards. I think the more impressive wins was against the Los Angeles Lakers, against LeBron, oh gosh, now it kind of slipped off my mind for a second. Okay, give me a second. I actually have to pull the box score. Anthony Davis. There we go. I'm stupid. Anthony Davis. We somehow were able to pull that game 108-107. With a couple of minutes left of the game, Los Angeles was not making shots, and we just hung out for dear life, and we were able to pull through. Then we play against Memphis Grizzlies, where Tyler Hero got hurt, and we still win that game 108-102. So 3-game win streak. Then we go to Atlanta, where we were crushing them. We were crushing Atlanta Hawks, and that's an easy dub for them. Then we go to West to play against San Antonio. As frustrating as that game was, they have a bright future with Victor Wembanyama, but the Heat still pulled through with that comeback in the second quarter and beat them 118-113. The next NBA in-season tournament, because the NBA in-season tournaments, they play on Tuesdays and Fridays. This is the second game. They play against the Charlotte Hornets. Excuse me. They play against Charlotte Hornets, and they beat them 111-105. Then on my birthday, they play against the Brooklyn Nets in Miami, and they beat them 122-115. That was a pretty impressive win and a rebound win against them, and that was the 7-game win streak. It should have been 8 if it wasn't for this. The next game, when the Miami Heat go to Chicago to play against the Bulls, 22 or 24-1 run to start the game. Did they win? No. Incredibly frustrating and painful to watch as the fourth quarter collapse has happened in that scenario, and we lost that game 102-97 against the Bulls. And we should have won that game. We should have won that game. They were not clutch enough. And just absolutely frustrating. But in the next game, all full-out revenge, as they were not missing any shots, and they blew out the Bulls the next game. So we rebounded the game against the Bulls and against the Bulls with the dub. Then we go to Cleveland. Oh, no, nothing much to say about the Cleveland game. 129-96. Incredible blowout. But then in the next game, of course, we have to talk about this stupid again. The fourth quarter collapse. We should have freaking won this game if they just hold the fuck on against the New York Knicks on, Black Friday? That was when the Dolphins play the Jets in the same area, kind of, the tri-state. They lost that game 100-98, the Heat, at Madison Square Garden. That loss hurt. It hurts for a couple of reasons. One, national television at Madison Square Garden, with the Heat being up by as many as 19-21, and they still blow it. And number 2 reason why it hurts is because this impacted the way how we go to the NBA in-season tournament. Oh, unbelievable. And then the next game, they go to Brooklyn. They go across the bridge, Brooklyn Bridge, tunnel, whatever one it is. They go across the river to go to Brooklyn, to Barclays, and they just get squashed by Brooklyn Nets. And then the next game, that's when our NBA in-season tournament comes to an end. Damian Lillard, of course, the guy who we were trying to trade for, is putting buckets on. And then we lost that game 131-124. And then the more frustrating part is that we lost our chance to go into the NBA in-season tournament playoffs. Bullshit. It's just so bullshit. The next game, however, one of the best games of the season is against the Indiana Pacers, where the Heat pull out one of the best scorings of the season. 142-132 was the final score in this game. Butler was playing ball. They were playing ball in this game. 142-132, one of the highest scoring games, and Indiana was no pushover. They could score and make your lives miserable. That's how they ended up going as far as the Eastern Conference Finals. They got swept, but they are a darn good team. They have a bright future, the Indiana Pacers. Because the next game, we lost to them 144-129. Again, we lost by 15, but the high-scoring game, that was a pretty darn good game. But still, we lost that game. It sucked. But the next game, we rebounded against the Toronto Raptors. We had a few days breaks in between. Those games came up. These 2 games popped up because of the fact that we were eliminated from the NBA in-season tournament. So that's why we got 2 more games, which is understandable. You have to play 82 games, and if you're eliminated, they'll just put new games in between, so that so that it can count towards 82 games. While the teams that did go as far into the NBA in-season tournament does play those 82 games as well. Because if those games count win or loss on the NBA in-season tournament, they also count towards regular season except the NBA in-season tournament final. That's it. Otherwise, you play 83 games. Anyway, we played against the Raptors. We won that game 112-103. And the next game they played against the Cleveland Cavaliers, where we just couldn't find anything. They had a marvelous second quarter, and then the Cleveland Cavaliers just absolutely put the beating to us in that. And then we lost that game 111-199. The next game, a close battle, but we just were able to get it through. Terry Rozier, eventually becoming a Heat, was balling, but we're still able to beat them. And then the next game, we beat them again, the Charlotte Hornets. Then the next two games against Chicago Bulls, they never took the lead in this game, and we lost this game 124-116. The next game, we beat them on a walk-off shot by Jimmy Butler, 118-116. The next game, Minnesota Timberwolves, Bam Adebayo and Tyler Hero both returning to the lineups after their injuries, and then we just lost it. Another fourth quarter collapse. As great Minnesota is, the Heat should have held on. That's one of the more frustrating parts. The next game, we go up to what is eventually now Kia Center in Orlando, Florida, to play against the Orlando Magic. And the Heat beat them 115-106. That was the game where they were. That was the game where they blew them. They were blowing them out, and the Magic never recovered. The next game is against the Hawks, where we beat Trae Young, which I think he played. Let me double check real quick. Yeah, because he scored 30 points as well as Tyler Hero did. 112-113 in Miami. Christmas matchup. This is without Jimmy Butler. If there's one player that had to step up, it was either Bam, Tyler Hero, and Kyle Lowry. And especially who he eventually became a Philadelphia 76er. We beat them on Christmas, 119-113. Absolutely amazing. Absolutely cool win on Christmas. Then we had a West Coast trip. We go to San Francisco, play against the Golden State Warriors, and then we beat the crap out of them somehow. Curry was not playing his best basketball. Neither was Clay. And the Heat put the foot on the gas pedal, and they never stopped. Then we won this game 114-102 at Chase Center. That's insane. However, against the rebuilding Jazz, that sucked. We lost it at 109-117, and that concludes the final game of the 2023 calendar game. 2024 starts. We go to Los Angeles at Crypto.com, where the final time ever to play against the Clippers at that arena, which will now be a sole home of the Los Angeles Lakers, because the Clippers, they're getting their own arena in Inglewood, California, which is right outside downtown on the west side, I believe. Because right across the street from that arena is SoFi Stadium, and I know this because I've actually been to SoFi Stadium. I promise you that. Anyway, we play against the Clippers. Nothing good about this game. Kawhi Leonard being Kawhi Leonard, Paul George being Paul George. We lost them 121-104. Awful start of the 2024 calendar year. So what? But then the next game on national television, no problems against the Lakers. No problems against the Lakers. Davis was playing better, but the shooting, it's all the Heat. 110-96 against the Lakers. And then nothing to talk about the Phoenix Suns, because that was a blowout and nothing to talk about. The next game, we go back home to play against the Rockets. And as great game as it was, they were able to pull through as the Heat win this one 120-113 against the Houston Rockets. The next game, against the OKC Thunder, who was a number one seed in the West, eventually losing to Dallas. SGA balling, playing his best basketball of the season. We lost him 128-120. That was a pretty good game. Then we play against the Magic. Oh my gosh, what a great game this was, the Battle of Florida. The Heat were able to pull through up the free throws that Bam and Butler was shooting. Man, Magic was coming back, but that we did not let that happen as we beat them 99-96. Charlotte game, nothing to talk about. It is a blowout from the start to finish. Moving on. Then we go to Brooklyn. Butler comes back. Butler comes back in this, and they go to overtime for the first time this season in Barclays Center, and I wish I was at that game. And they beat them 96-95. Brooklyn was missing shots in the overtime. The Heat were able to pull through with this one, and that is just an absolutely amazing shooting from the Miami Heat. And then when that overtime win happened, a dreadful stretch of the Miami Heat started from Toronto. A 7-game losing streak. Earlier this season, we had a 7-game win streak. We had a 7-game losing streak in the same season. Putrid. And it started with the Toronto team, where eventually lost in 12 straight. Beat the shit out of us. Nothing to talk about this game. But perhaps the worst game of this stretch was against the Hawks. This was Udonis Haslem's night. And DeJounte Murray would finish us off. This should not have happened, and it did. I was angry. We should not have lost this game, but we did. 109-108 against the Hawks. Then we go to Orlando, got blown out by the Magic. And a team that is rebuilding without John Morant because he got suspended, I think. He got hurt. He got hurt. But still, even without those big key players, the B team players still kicked the shit out of us. That was putrid. And then next, the Boston game, nothing to talk about. And then the next game, nothing to talk about as well. And then the Suns game, nothing to talk about. And it all adds up to 7-game losing streak as all 3 of those games, except for the Suns, they were a little bit closer. All blowout losses. It's insanity. 5 out of 7 games were blowout losses. They had to do some soul searching. So when Sacramento comes in to town, I'm thinking it's gonna be 8-game losing streak. It's gonna be in the 500 mark or gonna close to be under 500, and it's not gonna look good. Sabonis with always doing some great defending, good shooting, and good being an assist player. He's always shooting some triple doubles. The Heat were able to beat them 115-106. So awesome. Then we go against the Wizards, where we have to win. We beat them 110-102. Then we play against the Clippers on national television, where we just, We lost at 103-95, and that is just, Kawhi Leonard had to come out to life in the second half. Just were not able to do it. The next game, all the frustrations, laying waste on the Magic. They beat them 121-95 at Kaseya Center. Then next is against San Antonio Spurs, and then they beat them 116-104. Super Bowl Sunday comes along. Boston beating the crap out of us, but in the third quarter and the fourth, the Heat was trying to come back. Duncan Robinson getting in the face of Jaylen Brown. It was going to be a scuffle and fight. And it was a close game. Finally, a close game where I could say, yeah, this was a close loss, but it was a competitive game. They lost in 106-110 on Super Bowl Sunday. Then Butler got hurt. During that, he didn't get hurt. He didn't get hurt. I'm so sorry. There was a death of the family. Wishing condolences to that still. He didn't play the next 3 games. But after this game, they go to Milwaukee. Blew out Milwaukee somehow. Especially when Milwaukee is nearly at full health with Giannis, Damian Lillard. We won this game 123-97. This was not a stressful game. Then, the day after, we beat the 76ers, 109-104. And this is when we got to see Kyle Lowry as a 76er uniform. So that was the thing. And then the All-Star break happened. And then when we come back, Butler comes back. We play against the New Orleans Pelicans, where we won this game 106-95. That was when that fight happened. That was the fourth quarter brawl that happened by the sideline. That was awesome. That was just awesome to see that happen. Pretty cool. We go to Sacramento, and Sacramento was coming back. But the Heat were able to stay in the heads as they won this game 121-110. Then they go to Portland. They go to Portland where it was that matchup where both front offices were kind of like in the pettiness against each other. Portland never wanted to trade Lillard to us, so they traded him to Milwaukee for a terrible offer. Portland was beating us in the first half, but in the second half the Heat was pushing back, and they won this game 106-96. Then they go to Denver to finish off the road trip, as they would lose this game 103-97 to the champions that beat us in the finals last season. Then they go back to Miami to play against the Jazz. A war of shots going against each other, and the Heat were able to pull through as they won this game 126-120 against the Utah Jazz. The following game, on 305 day, I still have the poster. I went to this game. I vlogged it. They won this game 118-110. Unnecessary stress in this game, but it happened. But still, we won this game. Thank God. Dallas Mavericks next. Luka being Luka. We lost this game 108-114. Then a close game where we could have had that just a slight edge. We didn't in the fourth quarter. Of course, the fourth quarter collapse. And we lost the game 107-100. But then they somehow lose to the Wizards the next game. Are you kidding me? How do you lose to the Wizards? And this is the one thing I'm frustrated with this team. You have some games where it's winnable. Then you do well against some of the elite teams. But then when the games that you should do well against, you don't. That impacts our playoffs a lot. The following game, got our ass kicked by Denver. Again, what else is new? 2 straight games against the Detroit Pistons. We won both. But the second one, the first one, was a less stressful type of game. The following game on March 17th, it was that Bam Adebayo's 3-point walk-off shot against Detroit. Absolutely amazing shot there by Bam that won us the game. Then we go to Philly, where we had an upper edge, almost had an upper edge. Philadelphia with the crazy start. They were able to finish us off. Following game that we played against Cleveland, where it was a tight game, but they beat them 107-104. Great game. The following game, nothing to talk about. It was a blowout loss from the Pelicans. The next game, a blowout win against the Cavaliers. But then the following game, it was a blowout loss from the Golden State Warriors. That was the game where I was so upset the fact that Draymond got away with a flagrant. He should have gotten a flagrant 1 or a flagrant 2. Where I forgot who he hit. I think it was the double check. And Klay Thompson had this. Klay Thompson was doing great in this one. I think it was either Patty Mills or it had been Patty Mills, as far as I remember. But geez, that elbow right here, he should have gotten tech. I'm serious. Then the next game, nothing to say. Other than a franchise highest game blowout in history. The Heat not only beat them, or blowing them out, but historically, and I mean historically, blew out the Portland Trail Blazers. All those folks that are talking trash about the fact that the Heat couldn't get Damian Lillard, they lost to us by 60 points. If you do the math, 142. 82. If you subtract that, it's 60. Incredible. I loved every moment of it. Everyone was shooting 3, including Thomas Bryant. Next game, Wizards. You should beat the Wizards. And they did. 119-107. April comes along. Now we're talking about seeding. Now we're going to talk about seeding. Or can we even make the playoffs? Because we're most likely, at the very least, we can play in the play-in. But can we escape and go to the playoffs instead? We play against the Knicks, a tight game until the end, and the Heat beat them at Kaseya Center, 109-99. Great game. Philadelphia, this was tough. This was a tough game to watch, and we lost the game 109-105. Terrible. The next game, they rebounded against the Rockets, so great win there. WrestleMania. Yeah, this was WrestleMania night. Big game against Indiana Pacers. The Heat almost came back because they were getting blown out. This was an important game, and they just couldn't. They just could not beat them. However, the next game, very, very competitive game. It started off against the Hawks and the Heat. Regulation was not good enough, so they go to overtime. Not good enough there. Then the second overtime, then the Heat was finally putting some shots, and the defense was pretty good. And the Heat win this one 117-111 in double overtime. Fantastic win by the Heat. The next game, not so much. We lost to the Mavericks, 111-92. Nothing to talk about there. Then the next two games, all blowout wins against the Toronto Raptors, who just struggled tremendously in this season. Ending the season off with the low record I feel bad for Toronto. They didn't even get the first overall pick from the draft lottery. Atlanta did, and that's what I'll talk about after I give brief talks about these. Then we go to play-in games. I can't tell you how frustrated I was against the Philadelphia 76ers. This is the battle to win the 7th seed to play against the Knicks. And somehow, someway, the Heat just lost this game. For a couple of reasons. Butler got hurt. He ends up tearing his MCL. And number two, the unlikely player of all players, Nick Batum, was somehow balling. Nobody was covering him. And yet, he played his best game of his career. And the Philadelphia 76ers won this game 105-104. Oh my God, that was just putrid. Absolutely horrible game. The next game, full-on confidence. Battle of the 8th seed. Second straight year. And the same exact team, Chicago Bulls, blew them out 112-91. So we play against Boston. First round against a team that is really good. Without Jimmy Butler, they have to do some soul searching. The first game, lost game 1, 114-94. Second game, finally beating the Celtics this season. We won this game 111-101. Tyler Hero playing his great basketball. Then the next two games, gentlemen's sweep at home from the Celtics. Both of them were blowout losses. And then to wrap it all up, another blowout loss against the Boston Celtics. And the Boston Celtics will win the series 4-1 in 5 games. And eventually moving on all the way to the finals and eventually winning it all for Boston Celtics to put up their 18th championship in their franchise history. So, hey, we took it out on their hockey team, at least. But that means Tatum got his ring. Brown got his ring. Horford finally got his ring. Porzingis got his ring. Derek White. Ugh. So anyway, what went right for the Heat? Here are my thoughts. What went right for the Heat? The shooting, they're great. They could be as good as they can be, especially when you go into paint and you do some slick moves. The team is always having each other's back, or so I thought. This is where I say what went wrong. Is the chemistry great? Is the chemistry at 100%? Because I know it's in that 7-game losing streak. There was a time where Hero, Bam, and Butler were all starting together, and they just were not able to produce. What is going on there? Is there a chemistry problem? Is there something wrong with the lineup? I have no idea. So that was ugly. So what I didn't like in this season, fourth quarter collapses are more of a norm of this season than most rest. And that shouldn't be the case, but it was. We ended the season with the 8th spot. We lose in 5. Without Butler, we had no chance. Anyway, so what do we do moving forward? Well, first off, we need to sign a big man. That's going to be the next culture thing. We have to get a big man in. Pat Riley saw what the Celtics could do. He's got to be pissed off. He needs to wake up and needs to make some big trades. And I'm tired of all the trade rumors and everything. Just get it done. Just get it done is all I'm asking. But they need to get a big man in the process too. Good shooters, but a big man that could do rebounds, box them out, and then, scoring some buckets where they could score. I'm not asking for so much with the shooting. That's all. That's all. I will say this, the Heat did finish the season 46-36, 10 games over 500. I think the draft is tonight. I think the draft is tonight. So I'll probably do some draft videos on who gets drafted and whatnot. I'll probably do that, but we'll see. The Heat, I think they need to get a big player. They gotta get a big player. The big height player that could get the rebounds, and because I think that's another thing that I didn't like. The rebounding was absolutely putrid. I'm not saying it's really bad, but it's bad enough where it impact us, because sometimes in the games, like against Minnesota, Boston, offensive rebounds were more of a big thing. Anyway, there you go. That's going to do it for this video, season review. If you like this video, hit the like button, subscribe our content, because Miami TVG guys are back. And when he does, he'll be right there with the fear entertainment you deserve. This is Miami TVG. Signing out, folks. Good night, everybody.